Women make up 70% of the healthcare workforce, but only 20% of its leadership. On Her Story, we'll explore the careers of bold and influential women from Silicon Valley to Capitol Hill and learn how they've overcome the odds. This is Her Story, a program where we explore what's beyond the glass ceiling.
Good morning. So excited to be here today, Hafeezah, with you to talk about all kinds of things across life and work, and would love to maybe just start off by telling us who you are and introducing yourself to the Her Story community.
Yes, hello everyone at Her Story. My name is Hafeezah Muhammad. I'm the founder and CEO of Youme Healthcare. We are a pediatric mental health company that provides care to children who are struggling as young as 5.
Beautiful. And then tell us a little bit about your story, Hafeezah. I know you came not necessarily out of a healthcare background, right? You came from the telecom industry, and maybe a little bit about where you started and your educational background so that we have some foundations for what got you to where you are today as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I'm originally from St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. So growing up in an island that's, I like to say, 32 square miles was very inspiring to be able to grow in a culture that a place that's owned by the US but also has a culture was phenomenal. And my dad saw something in me when I was really young. Sometimes, like, as kids, you don't believe what your parents tell you. So at 14, he enrolled me in college at the University of the Virgin Islands, which is like absolutely a great experience. But at the time, I felt like, okay, like I'm so young. What do I really want to do this? But that led me to being able to go to Columbia and New York and MIT, where I got an MBA. And after graduating, I loved innovation. I remember when I was young, I saw like the pager and the cell phone, and I just wanted to be able to combine the pieces into one. I used to wonder, like, why do you need two devices? Why can't it be one? And just like how being an innovator led me to an early career at Verizon. When I started Verizon, I like to call it a startup on steroids. And with that said, we hadn't started delivering text messages until after I started. So to be in a path of innovation in the very beginning stages was really critical and helped shape who I am as a person that who believes in strong leadership, innovative technologies, and keep moving forward. And I like to say that being there for the years, watching the company grow, the transformation from flip phones to T9 text messaging to now smartphones, to now we can get messages on our watches, to have VR headsets has been incredible. But while I was there, I saw that there was a need for me. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be able to help individuals. I wanted to be able to be more in the forefront of new technology. Or how do I inspire the next generation of technologists? So I started a nonprofit called STEM Love. We were based in Maryland, and I would work with underprivileged schools in Baltimore. And while doing that work, I saw that there was such a huge need and there was so much trauma within these kids. So no matter how hard I tried to bring those concepts of STEM to them, it was a struggle because at times they were hungry. They were struggling with someone in their family that was passing away. And just like the world had it, I got hired and I was one of the first non-clinical executive hires for a startup. They had raised a Series A funding called ThriveWorks. They were in operation in about 10 plus states, in operation for 15 years. And a part of me coming in was to help propel their growth. And I'm going to talk to you about something very personal and very sensitive. In October of 2020, my son, who was 6, came to me and said, "Mommy, I feel like I want to kill myself." My heart broke. I didn't see it coming and I had no idea what to do next. I was an executive at this mental health company. However, my son was on Medicaid. The company didn't accept Medicaid and didn't see children at the time. And I kept searching for someone to be able to find care for my son. And the data is showing that majority of therapists do not accept Medicaid. And as I looked at the data, I kept seeing that there were thousands of family over the years that were looking for care. It was ahead of the pandemic, and kids were in the beginning stages of struggling. And you can tell that based on the volume of calls that you're getting. And I said, I never want another parent to go through what I did. I mirrored my passion for technology and the knowledge I gained in mental health. And that's how I started Youme Healthcare.
Your story is extraordinary, and I'm grateful for you sharing it and being so vulnerable. If none else, in that hopefully it can help more people follow suit and have that same vulnerability, and also have the courage to seek help and look for help and know that they're not alone in facing these struggles, whether it's as a parent or caregiver or as an individual personally experiencing some of these mental health challenges.
Yeah, they're not alone. And a lot of times, and the reason why I share my story is that there are people who suffer in silence. There are families who are afraid. There are families as well that have no idea what's happening with their kids. And there's sometimes the end cause of that, which is the worst thing that could possibly happen, is that a child or a teen takes their lives. And this is something where I share my story to ensure that every parent can do, if you're listening to your parent, that you can do a check-in to just ask how your child is doing. And I've tried this myself where I randomly go, if I'm in a drive-through anywhere, I ask the person if they seem like they're young within the age range that we usually support, very bluntly, and ask, have you ever thought about killing yourself? And I would tell you 9 out of 10 times the answer is yes. There are times where people have broken down and cried and thanked me for asking them, to thank me for not making them feel that they're alone. And this is the culture that I hope to inspire, a culture where people feel that they can be open with their struggles, that there's not going to be a stigma about what people go through. And this is what we bring to the table at Youme, is making sure that it's a place that everyone is welcome. We like to call ourselves the United Nations of mental health, to the point that right now we provide therapy where we integrated 250 languages. So we have translators who work in the field of clinical field and the healthcare field, that provide translation services during the sessions, so that no one is left behind because access to care is needed. And I just wanted to create that environment that everyone know that they're welcome, no matter who you are. And there's something that we strive with, is that you are you, not your condition, right? And this is our why, is that you are who you are. This something that you're going through is temporary. It's just like if you had a broken leg. There's nothing different, right? You get the compassion, you're not afraid to share it. Mental health should be the same way. And if we are able to remove those blocks and those barriers, we can truly make a difference for society, for kids. And most important, if you're a parent or even a non-parent, everyone knows someone that's struggling. And sometimes you might be struggling yourself. And we have to wake up every day and we have to show up no matter what our struggles might be. And we just have to remove that stigma and to know that this is a part of life, that we can get through it. But now we have solutions that's going to help make a difference.
It's an extraordinary perspective, and I think the bravery with which you present it will be inspiring to a lot of people. Can you tell us a little bit more about Youme Healthcare? Tell us about what you do, where you started, and where you are now.
So when we started 2 years ago, my goal was to make sure that we accept insurances that individuals like my son had, so that we can provide equal access to care. And just by making sure the premise was equal access to care, so it doesn't matter your background, your insurance, and now we accept 15 insurances. In less than 2 years, we've helped more than 500 families get treatment, more than 9,000 sessions. But that's exciting time in such a short period of time. But we knew that just wasn't enough. If you start taking a look at the data that are coming out in regards to the mental health crisis, you will see it's continuing to escalate. So for the last 2 years, we've been installed building digital therapeutics that would allow kids to receive therapy anytime, anywhere, with access to live therapists as needed, through the earliest modality of mental health, which is bibliotherapy. So we create our own content. We have remote monitoring that kids can check in every day and how they're doing. And we've been installed for 2 years. And I'm excited that August 1st, you guys are hearing it way early, and hopefully this doesn't get launched until August 1st, that we're going to be rebranded to Backpack Healthcare, where we're ensuring that all the tools are in one place so that we can grow. And we acquired a company that operates in 27 states so that we can truly be able to start making a difference making a difference and impact. And even though it took us 2.5 years to be able to build a solution that can reach the masses, it was worthwhile because we know that to build something that's going to last, to build something that's going to make a difference, you have to take the time to do it right. And that's something that I'm really proud of the team, that we've been able to get to this point that we're ready to showcase something that can change the world essentially for families and for children. And then no child ever have to be in silence because they have their incredible daily remote monitoring that they check in with, in tools that they feel comfortable with, so that if we know something has happened, we can reach out instead of having to wait until they're in a crisis state.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the level of scale that you've achieved in just 2 years is remarkable, especially considering that you've been in stealth. And so my hat's off to you for that, because you're making it look easy. And we know that it's not easy. I want to shift gears just a little bit, because of all of the early stage healthcare founders that I have met, of which that is a big number, you don't necessarily have the same background or look like everybody else. And so, talk to us a little bit about your journey walking through the world as you and creating that space and the leadership that you've taken. What do you want the world to hear about Hafeezah and what you're building?
So you're right, Kristi. Every time I walk into a room, I'm usually the only person that looks like me. I'm definitely always the only person to have on a hijab. And I'm definitely usually the person that doesn't have a strong healthcare background. And what that does for me, it motivates me to know that I'm breaking down barriers, and then I'm opening spaces for others to follow me. And even though I'm the one that has to make the sacrifices, and it's very hard, I'm not going to tell you that it's not hard. It's literally the hardest thing that I've done. I think even harder than hearing my son tell me that about his struggles is like the barriers that I have to know that I'm paving the way, that I'm human. Sometimes you want to give up, right? Because you're like, this is just so hard. But then you think about that. If I give up, who is going to continue this work? I have to bet on myself. And being able to have that mindset, it makes me, every day I think about that. If I was to give up, then I'm going to be giving up and everyone that looks like me. How do I pave the way? How do I continue to build strength? How do I continue to lead my team on the mission? And that's what keeps me going, knowing that in the end of the day, that if I'm always the only one in that room, at least I am there. So someone, the next person is never going to be they're not going to be the first time they're being seen because someone has met me. And the ability to deliver strong results also comes from wanting to make a difference, but also wanting to ensure that people see that people who look like me can build great products, can be innovators, can build strong businesses, can deliver results. And that's like what keeps me going in those times of feeling like a failure, or times of wanting to give up, because most people don't talk about failure. People always talk about the successes. And let me tell you, there's been a lot of failures over the last 2.5 years building this company, and there will be a lot more to come. But failure energizes me, and it should energize everyone, because every time you fail, you're always one step closer to success. I take a look at
Mm.
Thomas Edison, and we looked at the 10,000 light bulbs. Everyone hears that story, but because of him, we are having this conversation. The lights are on, right? We can have the illumination of the cameras of our screens because someone never gave up. So if I have to be the Thomas Edison of the underserved population or the unconventional founders, then I'm going to do it, because if he never gave up, I have 10,000 chances to keep going to ensure that I can be successful. And if I've only had five or 10 or 20 or 100 failures, I still have 9,900 more to go. And that's how I look at life.
Absolutely. I want to pull on the thread around providers and care a little bit, especially as it pertains to intersectionality. And that's something that you and I have talked about in the past and that we share, with me as the mom of three Black boy and girls, two girls and a boy, and trying to navigate the unique experiences that different people in our country, in our society, experience. And talk to me what you're seeing in the mental health space in terms of providers and the access and the supply of providers that are able to meet the needs of patients at different intersections and with different identities and different cultural nuance and challenges.
Yeah. So I would tell you that at Youme, more than 65% of our therapists identify as BIPOC. And it also mirrors our population, where it's more than 60% of our patient population identifies as BIPOC. But at the same time, we have therapists who are serving these kids that might not identify. And as we started to identify the cause of the shortage of therapists, we was able to find a data that shows that every time someone graduates to become a therapist, they have to go through like 3 hours of postgraduate residency and get supervision. A doctor does the same exact thing, but the difference between the two is that a doctor is paid for their residency, and the ones who want to become therapists have to pay for their supervision. So what that causes is a gap when you think about a therapist who comes from a low economic household that has to determine about whether or not I'm going to continue to be a therapist to provide that support, or I'm going to have to pay for supervision or my student loans. They're going to choose their student loans because they want to maintain that credit. And identifying the root cause of the shortage has helped us to be able to bring more of those therapists within the market, where we do provide that supervision and we do pay them double of what they would have made if they worked somewhere else. And the second piece of that is that we do know the market does not mirror the diversity of the population. So we provide a lot of training and cultural competence, or cultural humility. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your background, but if we have the same foundations on how we can connect to people, because if someone is diagnosed with a cold or the flu, a doctor can tell them no matter their background, right? Because that's the root cause, it's a treatment. Mental health is also something that should be diagnosed. And to be able to have cultural humility, it allows you to connect. I tell this joke about like me. I'm from the Caribbean. My dad is Muslim. My mom is Christian. I live in I live in Maryland. If I was to find someone that matches the mark of what I want, someone from the Caribbean, from a multi religious household, to be able to deliver care, I'm going to tell you it's not going to happen, because there were only 5 of us in the school. They're all my siblings. And guess what? None of them are therapists. So knowing like my personal experience has really like helped me to get to the point of, yeah, we have to focus on cultural humility and to know that we can make a difference. And an example of that is that one of our first therapists that joined, right now she's our chief clinical officer. She's phenomenal. We have an incredible case study where she identifies as Caucasian, and she's been helping this family that identifies as Black, who was struggling, every therapist has turned them down, or because of the struggles, they were getting ready to enter the juvenile justice system. And the work that she's been able to do to help support them, someone who grew up in a more privileged environment, to support these kids who were raised in Baltimore, since we're based in Maryland, to the point right now they're A and B students. And she doesn't have the similar background of them, but she has that cultural humility where she's been able to, because of the training, the development that we've been able to build, that she actually saved these kids' lives, to give them an opportunity for a better life, to take them out of the system. And that's a great case study of what it means to deliver cultural humility. And to focus on that is that one thing that we all agree on is that we are human beings. And one thing that we all understand is love. And the one thing that we all feel equally is pain. And if we have that with the right tools, we can truly make a difference for everyone.
every time I talk to you, I walk away with such a reverence for your work and you as a human and what you're building. And this is absolutely up there with the same experience that I have every time we interact. I I want to look at the broader ecosystem right now. If you were to have one wish in our industry, in the mental behavioral health space, and you could snap your fingers and tomorrow it would be done, what would that thing be?
My wish will be, oh, there's a lot of wishes. Can it be the genie that gets like seven? So I'm gonna, yeah, I wish I could get more. My wish is that there are a lot of emerging companies, there's a lot of emerging technologies. But my wish is that how do we combine so that we can become partners? How do we partner with Congress so that we're able to push down policies that's actually going to impact and make a difference? There's a lot of red tape within the mental health and the healthcare space. And how do we utilize our dollars that we invest in companies that's actually going to serve the broader good and the broader populations? Because in the end of the day, true capitalism is capitalism where you do good and you're rewarded for doing that good. And how do we bridge the gap? So my wish will be able for more people to come together collectively, all the great innovations from multiple companies, we all start joining them so that we can create like a big bang, like the Facebooks, right? The Googles. And those can't happen without collective combinations. And in the end, we can make a difference and we can really truly improve the condition of the society. Because if we don't get a handle on mental health, it's going to impact the economy because we're not going to have a workforce that's stable for the future. The kids who are being impacted now is our future workforce. And we do know from economics is that if you don't have a strong workforce, you don't have a competitive advantage. And mental health is that key to competitive advantage. So getting everyone to work together to build something powerful that can truly make a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are some of the current pressures that you're feeling, and especially as an entrepreneur and with the markets having shifted the way they are? Obviously markets go in cycles, and we're in a down cycle right now. What are you feeling right now, and what are the impacts on you and how you view the progression of the business?
So the markets are very challenging in aspects of fundraising. The access to capital is definitely not the same. It usually is even harder for someone like myself, who's like in the less than the 1% who get it. So some of the shift that we've started to make actually from the beginning stages, and as said that we know what the numbers say that the percentage of being able to have access to capital is not there. So how do we run a business as if we're never going to get capital? That we do need it, but then how do we keep running the business? So what we're focusing on right now is to make sure that we improve in efficiencies, effectiveness. How do we 5x or 10x the business with the current team, but also maintaining their well-being and their motivation? And that's where my focus has been shifted to is that this is a company that needs to be around. It's not a have, it's not a want, it's a need. And that having that responsibility is very, very hard because I know that if I don't make the right decisions, if I don't make the right strategy, if I don't bring on the right people, that if I fail, I'm failing humanity. And that is very, very,
It's a
very
lot.
hard
Yeah.
every day. But knowing that if we're able to weather the storm, we're going to be stronger, we're going to be more agile, we're going to be more efficient, more effective, and it's going to make us more attractive in the end. And that's what I'm betting on is the things that we've been doing that's accelerating them so that we're able to get to a point where the market turns, but then we're going to be ready when the market is ready for us.
Absolutely. I want to know more about who created this Hafeezah machine that is this equal parts of like business maven and sage, emotional maturity and professionalism. Talk to us a little bit more about what was invested into you and how you view the leadership that you've been given in a broader context so others can follow suit.
So I will start with one, my parents, right? Because, I'm a mom. Some people are parents on this. Some people never want to have kids, no problem on there. My dad, growing up, he was raised in the Caribbean, and he went into the military. He went into the military special forces. And being a part of the special forces, there was a mindset, those mindset skills that he instilled in us about how do don't worry, the art of war. He gave me that book when I was 9 years old. I don't know what the hell was in there. It made no sense to me. I don't know if we can edit this out or if we're gonna keep it. But he gave it to me, right? And he was like, "Don't delay." He used to tell me things, act, right? But when my dad left Chicago, but he was born, he went to the military, he was in Chicago, he went back, he joined the police force. And this is very personal. You're never going to see this anywhere else because I usually never share this. He was a pilot and he was arrested for drug trafficking as a police officer. Because while he came to the police force, there was things that my dad didn't agree with. And he eventually was acquitted and he left the force and he went into becoming an entrepreneur. And then my mom became an entrepreneur. And I remember the struggles that we faced growing up with that stigma of that arrest. And someone told my dad one day that, "Oh, yeah, you're nothing but a drug trafficker. No one would ever make you a cop again." And he was like, "You know what? I'm going to prove you wrong." So my dad applied. He went back to the force. He became a police officer. And right to the day of his graduation, they said that you can't move forward because of your arrest. After he went through everything, and my dad went through a lot of challenges because of that, financial challenges where the businesses that we built, the struggles we were facing was very imminent, very difficult. And my dad never gave up. And in the end, he got his job, but he became the trainer of the Virgin Islands Police Department until he retired. So to see someone like my father who never gives up, who never backs down, gives me that inspiration to have an example that I could have been a statistic, but I saw that. And it's good for us to be good examples. And then thinking about my mom, who like started this incredible cleaning business and now it grew to something so incredible. And for her, just being confident in herself, she has this very thick accent and she has these very wealthy clients. And she's so straightforward and so direct with them, so fearless that like she walks into the room and she's like, "I belong here. I don't care how much money you have or you don't have. This is how we're going to move the business forward. And this is what I need you to do so that you can have a good product and a good place for people to stay." And being able to see those struggles that my parents have gone through, being able to mirror that with the confidence of my mom, and being able to work in organizations like Verizon, who spent a lot of money in my development and leadership, is who made me the way I am today. Every failure that I've gotten, like it's hard, made me who I am today. And it never made sense. It never, ever, none of this ever made sense until these last 2 years.
As a female entrepreneur and a woman in this space, a female professional, what would you tell to two audiences? One, other women, both up and comers and those who are established, and then also the non-female contingent that may need be seeking to be how to be allies, how to be supportive. What would your wisdom or advice be to each of those groups?
So my advice to women is to support other women. Be the biggest cheerleader and the biggest cheerleader to women. You hire them, you promote them, you mentor them. But also as a woman, don't be fearless. You break down barriers if you have the opportunity. Before, I never used to talk about my kids, and now it's a part of who I am. Who gives a shit what anyone thinks about us? Do you know what we have to go through every day to be able to walk into a boardroom to be the only person, the only woman, and have to fight? And just continue to be confident and be fearless, be rootless in the pursuit of greatness. And don't let anyone stop you from becoming the best you can be. And for men, men are incredible allies. I would say some of my best leaders have been men who believed in me, who supported me, who actually have hired me. And if you continue to see things within women that you want to develop, when you're at that table and there's no woman at that table, you have to be the voice to bring the women to the table, to be the voice to find a woman that you can mentor. Men have a lot of mentors, but if you can find like women that you can mentor, and be able to be good at it, it's going to be phenomenal. I do know there's a lot of struggles about like what does mentorship look, the issues that can come with it, the scariness of society, what they have about sometimes a men-woman interaction, is that to be fearless with that, because if you lead with integrity and do the right thing and you're the voice of reason, and if you know you're at that table and there's no woman there, either you put an empty a seat, and ask what would that woman say, or you fill that seat with a woman, and you be that voice to be able to fill that seat.
Hafeezah, I want to thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your story, your testimony, the extraordinary insights into what you're building and the impact that you're having. And thank you so much. I want to encourage you to continue to share that story. And for everyone listening, evangelize Hafeezah's story, share what you've learned with others, and thank you so much for being here.
And thank you so much for having me, Kristi, and the team. It's been an incredible opportunity to be able to share my story, and I hopefully I can inspire you, but also please connect. We can stay in touch and we can keep this movement going. And how do we be stronger together as women?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.